Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Lindsey and Krista, my friend.
Yes. My friend Krista. Sometimes I can do accents and sometimes not. It's actually very weird.
It's like when you're on mushrooms, you could do accents.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Whenever I do voice texting, my voice text always calls you, what is it? Kristen or Crystal.
Crystal, of course. Oh my gosh, how many times have I been called Crystal?
Crystal.
Which is crazy. But
such a different vibe, but also Crystal.
Very different.
Crystals.
Krista Williams is a name.
No one's named Krista anymore. No one's named Lindsey.
No, Lindsey's out.
Out.
Lindsey's out. My friend's, my friend's daughter, whatever. Her name was Kimberly. I was like, wow, that was a name generation of names. I remember I wanted my name to be Emily so bad.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, I was dying. I'm like, I would love my name to be Emma, Emily.
It's funny how you associate names with who had that name in high school or middle school.
100%.
So I hear Emily and I'm like, do you live on a prairie?
Oh my gosh, I hear Emily, prettiest girl in my school.
Exactly.
That should have gotten more love than she did.
Yeah.
You know, oh my gosh, you know what's weird? To think about those people in high school that were so drop dead gorgeous but didn't get the love or respect they deserved.
Okay. Literally, it's so funny you're saying this. I had a whole round table with my sisters about this high school experience. Yeah. Keep going. Like what?
Like this girl.
Like the nerds who were freaking models.
Yes, like this girl that I think of. Her name was Emily. Stunning. Breathtaking. Unreal. I also think she had an essence and aura about her that just was magnetic.
Yes.
Didn't get the love she deserved.
What do you mean? She wasn't popular?
She was cool, but there was girls that weren't recognized as being as hot as they were.
Yes. Because it was like natural. It was a vibe. It was their energy.
I don't know if they gave off friendly. You know what I think it was, to be honest? They had more womanly bodies than I think some like younger girls had.
Totally.
You know?
Yes.
What was your conversation?
Our conversation was around, it's kind of adjacent, but it was kind of like where are they now type of vibe.
Yes.
And there was a quote that I saw, Dr. Tama, who's been on the podcast. She has this incredible quote. I'll read it in a second. But basically, the main characters of my middle school and high school experience are absolutely nowhere to be found.
Oh, say
absolutely. We scrubbed the internet.
Talk that talk.
So we scrubbed the internet and found, because I was like, she has to have a LinkedIn. Like she has to have a LinkedIn. No LinkedIn, no nothing. Basically found that her dad had started like a realty business that I think was fake, and she was a realtor for that. Very weird, whatever. There's layers to that. Bless. I hope she's okay. But nowhere to be found. Two of them in particular. And I'm admittedly very curious where they are now.
Yeah.
Like I would spend probably a whole day trying to find where they are.
For sure.
Yeah.
That trajectory where you think that like if you're cool in 8th grade or high school, you're going to be cool forever. But like the prioritization of being cool at that time was so much more.
Yes.
And it was like being accepted. I remember the cool. I even remember senior year being like, these cool people are really dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like,
I think the dumber you were, the cooler you were.
For sure. I was like, oh, what?
Skip class.
Yes. Like it was just, they were dumb. Like I just remember being like, oh, this is like, there's some trajectory of like popular and, you know, intelligence. And I think these are old tropes as well. Mm-hmm. But I just remember being like, they aren't fun. Like I'm not having fun.
I hope that I can instill in my children what cool really means.
Yeah.
And also I was thinking,
what does cool really mean?
I don't know. I got to think about it. I got to workshop it. But yeah, it's something I want to think about.
Yes.
Like where it's like, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is cool now to kids? Because back then it was like the bad kids, like,
what was cool? Oh, cool for us. I think for boys, it was the bad kids, athletes.
Yeah.
Being attractive was number one. For girls, it was like being perfect, I felt like. Or maybe I think I just got that perception early of having.
At a certain point, in high school, I think it was more perfection, but middle school, it was like the girls were kind of like with the bad boys.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and they were very cool and they could do whatever they wanted. Like their parents didn't give a shit.
Yes. I remember it was like, I dated like a drug dealer once.
Same.
And I mean, I was
It's
like,
fun.
this is sick.
Sick.
Honestly, like I remember one time he had like weed in his car and I was like, that's my baby. We had to like drop it off. Like I would, no, honestly, I was like, no,
Totally.
Bonnie and Clyde is sick.
Yeah.
I think it was from rap music.
You're like, I have no idea that I could be arrested at any moment. My life could be absolutely ruined.
I liked the danger. I was like, he's an entrepreneur. I'm like helping him with his business. And I'd be sitting in this piece of shit car delivering weed in like 8th grade.
Dude, it's so crazy.
With I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just being so, like it was just driving around Ohio, like.
But I wonder what's cool now, like with social media.
Yeah,
I'm like, is it the person with the most followers? Is it the person making the most TikToks?
Probably.
Is it the weirdest one? Like sometimes I think like weird has a power too, where they're like so eclectic, so weird. They probably, you know, spend their summers in France and then like they, you know, their parents are kind of making them get into all this weird stuff. And that could be seen as status. I think it depends on where you are. I think metropolitan cool is different than like country cool.
That's so true. Like if you're in San Francisco, what's cool is going to be so different than if you're in like Nebraska.
Yes, exactly.
Like, that is so true.
Tamar Bryant says, just to close the loop on that, be mindful that you don't promote a spectator to a main character. Remain discerning about the roles you allow people to play in your life. I allowed a lot of people to be main characters.
Wow.
Like they consumed my everyday and my thoughts. So annoying.
Yeah, I was
So
actually
draining.
thinking about that with a relationship I had previously in my life. And I was thinking about how there was a third party in that dynamic and how that third party dynamic ran my whole life.
Yeah. Say more. What do you mean
So
third
basically
party?
there was like a woman that was like involved that he like was with when we were together. And so that whole dynamic of that cheating scenario or whatever just like ran my whole life for years. Like I even saw this guy from my college last night out and he was saying, he's like, do you remember we took French together? You were like my tutor. And I'm like, first of all, you failed probably because I was so bad at French. But he was like talking about our whole time together, talking about everything. And I just remember because I was so caught up in that cheating dynamic and such a fascination and obsession with her because of it, comparing myself to her, just obsessed that I don't remember much of that period besides that. 100%. My mind was consumed with that cheating thing that I don't remember really much of being with anyone. So when he was talking about all of the times we had together in French, I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Isn't that so bizarre?
So weird. It's also weird too because I think as a Pisces like person, I'm always like between worlds. I'm just so like energetically focused that I always think people are never going to recognize or remember me.
It's interesting.
Like I saw him out.
Sean feels the same way. I was like, sir,
no way.
Could point you out of a crowd.
Wow.
What are you talking about?
What?
But Pisces as well. Yeah.
I wonder if that's a Pisces thing.
Yeah. It's interesting.
He thinks people can't recognize him?
Yeah. He's like, I wonder if he like recognized me when he walked past me. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, I'm like crazy.
Yeah.
I totally get that. I'm like, I sometimes think, I'm like, I don't have a physical form for someone to respond or react to. Like if someone's like says something about me, they're like, oh, that. I'm like, I have to like come back in. I'm like, I have to like morph back in my body and be like, what's this thing? What are we talking about here? I love that quote.
God.
There was this study that I wanted to bring up in this before we cruise on into this amazing conversation, that having one lazy day per week can help reduce stress, high blood pressure, and improve mental health. So having a lazy day, scheduling a lazy day
Fully support.
on your calendar, on your schedule, can actually improve your health.
And this is, do you do that now? This is coming from someone that I feel like at a certain point you were not letting yourself have lazy days. Correct?
Hey, this podcast is about you guys. It's actually not about me and my process, and I'm here for you. So you guys.
But I think people relate.
Well, I surpass you in life. This actually is about
you be lazy.
Literally. Hey, everybody, be lazy. I'm going to keep working so I get better than you.
But I think doing less in a certain capacity has proven to me that you're able to do more.
100%.
Overall.
No, I mean.
I feel like you've gotten better.
Way better.
Yeah.
I think the way that I move in that, so I will definitely have a lazy day. I have a lazy night. I think I just move a lot more fluidly.
Yeah.
And I will have to be honest, the thing about this study is that it's not necessarily about me, because I believe that if you're very present and in tune with yourself and give yourself what you need in the moment. So if I'm like, ooh, I need to be alone, I'll be alone. If I'm like, ooh, I can do whatever.
Yeah.
And if you're pushing yourself unconsciously all the time, you actually have to schedule. I need to schedule a full day off,
Yeah.
because you're just kind of pushing yourself outside your thing all the time. So when you are in tune and present with yourself, you can know what you need in the moment and give yourself that. But if you're not being conscious and you're still working 9 to 5, which isn't natural for so many of us, especially women who are cyclical creatures stuck in this masculine container of this is how we work, you have to actually schedule in the day off.
Completely. Yeah, I think it's for me it's a lifestyle shift. It's not necessarily scheduling in. I just know.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's like late. I guess lazy is the word that's not aligning, where I'm like rest, nothingness, like not, just kind of that. Because I think if we believe that it's a lazy day, then are we actually resting, or are we kind of feeling like a piece of shit because we're having a lazy day?
That part.
Yeah. So
underline.
So I think we can reframe it for you. And I think it's more of...
We hate this study.
Yeah.
This study is so stupid.
Piece of shit. Delete it.
I don't need it. I'm too good for it. You hate it.
But I think I just have understood the value of nothingness and rest and not progressing in something, and how it supports the progression of something.
Yes. 100%.
So it's like the nothingness, being able to like think about things without pressure, being able to just like be in my body, like just be more fluid, like you said, actually helps me to, when I want to be productive, that because I'm more clear, I'm more rested, I'm less in my head about things. And yeah, I don't know, I have the energy for it.
100%.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I do think it's like for people newer in the game, scheduling in the time, I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially if you want to be more in your feminine, taking a masculine approach of actually scheduling in the time and leaving the freedom and flexibility to like have that time be feminine, I think is really good. But it's powerful to see, like that will improve your health. Like just taking some time off because we're always so on, I think is really beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, today's episode, I'm excited. I sat down with Dr. Cate Shanahan.
She's really radical.
Like
amazing. You guys,
I've been doing it for a long time.
Her stuff is super, super powerful. And the research that I've seen her bring through and the information is fascinating.
Yeah, she's unafraid to challenge a lot of what's happening today. And she's very passionate about it. We go in. So basically her work is dispelling the nutrition science myths, misconceptions, and falsehoods of the past. So she works with doctors, she works with us consumers, and a lot of athletes. But this conversation is mainly centered around seed oils. Her new book, Dark Calories, is talking about just the crazy insidious nature of seed oils. They're in everything, but how can we rebuild our health? And how can we avoid and substitute and look out for these things and really call for better.
Yep.
So I just thought it was fascinating. It was very like empowering rather than like fear-mongering, which I appreciated. But she's just a wealth of information about everything. And she really takes an ancestral approach to nutrition and why that's important to just deep cellular health. So we talk a lot about that. But I just love her passion. She's coming from a place of experience. She has a mysterious illness that has not been diagnosed properly. And so she's really had to take like radical responsibility for what she's putting in her body, how she treats her body, what her environment is, et cetera. So she talks a lot about that part of her story.
Wow. I can't wait to hear. That is fascinating. You can go to her website at drcate.com. That's drcate.com. And there's a bunch of really cool articles in there. I was just reading an article on her website on why doesn't meat taste like it used to, with so much information about all the things that we're even doing to meat to make it less nutritionally valuable and tasty. It's actually crazy. So this is going to be a really good one. Highly suggest sending this to your friends who you've been talking to about seed oils, who have been in conversation about it, for all your nutrition wellness baddies that you love. This is a really good one. So thank you so much for coming on Almost 30, Dr. Cate.
Thank you, Dr. Cate. And to learn more about Almost 30, go to almost30.com. All of our partners are there. So if you're listening and hearing about our partners on the podcast who we love and have vetted for you, you can find all of the codes on our website as well as in the show notes. So shout out to our partners. Thank you so much. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Almost 30 Podcasts. And on Instagram, I'm at Lindsey Simsick.
And I'm at It's Krista, Krista. And we'll see you on the other side.
Bye. Oh, your girl is so excited. It's summer. Beach trips, pool days, the vibe, just taking long walks in the sun, just doing my thing. And I'm so excited to do it with my family. I have gotten my family, my husband and I, on the right supplements to support us this summer season and beyond. Symbiotica always has my trusted supplements, and they come in liposomal form, which makes taking them so freaking easy and also yummy. This liposomal form is like a liquidy goodness that I found to just be so easy to take on the go. And especially if you're someone who hates taking pills, this is for you. So they have clean, innovative formulas. They are so transparent about their ingredients. You will know that these are effective and safe products. No seed oils, no preservatives or toxins. One of the founders, Sheravine, has been on the podcast many times, offering some of our fan favorite episodes. So check those out. But as I mentioned, we are taking Symbiotica's liposomal vitamin C. This is the best vitamin C supplement I've ever taken. I love that it has biotin, which is known as like nature's most beautifying vitamins. And since taking it, I was on my Instagram the other day, I've just noticed like my skin is pretty radiant. And I was getting comments like, wait, what are you doing? What are you putting on your skin? I was like, honestly, I'm doing a few things, but I really have seen a difference with the vitamin C from Symbiotica. It's also great for your immune system. Also, Symbiotica just launched a new nootropic creamer made for your daily ritual. You've never experienced creamer like theirs. Enhance your morning cup with a boost of stable energy, no jitters or crash, and you can still enjoy that rich, creamy taste with none of the harmful additives. So excited to get that. I just put in my order. But you can save up to 20% off site-wide with code ALMOST30. Just go to symbiotica.com/almost30. That's CYMBIOTIKA.com/almost30. Use the code ALMOST30 for 20% off site-wide. I don't know about you, but a really nice summer dress that I can take out of my clothing storage every single year, one that I know is going to just uphold itself through the years and remain classic and modern and just fitting amazing. I am one of those people that needs that type of dress, maybe multiple of them. And I got mine at Jenny Kane. I've talked about Jenny Kane on the pod a lot. This is a brand that has helped me to build like a really solid foundation in my wardrobe capsule collection, I would call it. I love modern classic basics that are just really great quality. I'm kind of in that era of my life where I'm like, I really want good quality clothes, no trash anymore. If you haven't heard of Jenny Kane, let me tell you about it. They're a California brand through and through. They make staples that make getting dressed super fun and effortless. Like your perfect summer aesthetic is on jennykane.com. But also all year round. I mean, I have a few Jenny Kane sweaters that I literally treasure. Their cashmere sweaters are iconic. I have a few accessories and shoes from them. And every single time I get a new piece of Jenny Kane, I'm like, whoa, the quality is unmatched. unmatched. I wanted to share the summer styles that I am rocking lately. So as I mentioned, I love a good summer dress. I have the Cove dress. I just got it in black. It is a really feminine, beautiful V-neck. And it comes to just above the ankle. So easy, spaghetti strap. I'm obsessed with it. Like I can put it over a bathing suit, but I can also like dress it up with heels. You know what I mean? I am also really, really loving the capri caftan dress. So this is one that I've dressed up for dinner. I will like wear around town. I'll definitely wear it as a cover up. Again, so versatile. You're getting like multiple looks, multiple dresses, multiple occasions out of this dress. And again, the quality is so good. They have sweaters, blazers, tops and jackets, dresses, lounge wear, bottoms, shoes, jewelry, accessories. Oh, and they have homeware. Oh yeah. Jenny Kane Home is unreal. You will get lost in the best way on that part of their website. So have a blast. And hey, you have a discount from us. Go to jennykane.com and use the code almost30 to get 15% off. I'm really excited for you. JENNIKAYNE. Find your new uniform at jennykane.com. Again, our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use the code almost30 at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKYNE.com. Promo code almost30. Like getting dressed, be one less thing to worry about. Embrace your summer aesthetic with Jenny Kane. Okay, I am so excited to be here with Dr. Cate Shanahan. I'm so excited that I get to talk to you in this conversation. I was just saying before we began that I feel like we are living in a time now where people are ready for this information. People are ready to begin to get very honest and real about what they're putting in their bodies. They are ready to take responsibility. They're ready to make different choices that hopefully will like make a bigger impact in whether it's what we consume at our grocery stores, at our restaurants, etc. And I'm just really excited for it because I feel like I've been on this tip for a while because of people like you who I have read their books and just been fascinated by their research. And to be honest, it's not an easy lifestyle in the years past to really own and also implement in the everyday, but I feel like it's getting easier and easier just because of conversations like these. So I'm really excited. So I would love actually to begin because I like to set the tone and set the stage with your background. And how and why you got into the work that you do today.
Great. I love it. And yes, it's definitely a different time, but I was actually surprised you just said it's getting easier. So I'm so glad that you put that out there and that you feel that way because it's so important. There's nothing more important than what you eat. And my background is that I wasn't taught that in medical school. But something fundamentally that I always believed before I went to medical school was that nature is amazing. I went to medical school, and there my goal was to get to the underlying root cause of our certain medical problems that science really didn't have an answer for, doctors couldn't answer. And for me, it was my own medical problems. It was selfishly, I just wanted to solve my recurring kind of sports injuries because I was an athlete, a pretty serious athlete. Actually, I got invited to the Olympic trials in Germany in 1980 or 84. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. But
what? What type of athlete were you?
For distance running. So it was a 1,500, which is almost a mile. Mm. So because I'm totally uncoordinated. I could not play any other team sport that required like a ball and moving through space in an organized way. I could put one leg in front of the other, and I could, breathe well because I have large lungs for a female. So that helped a lot for running. But so I wanted to get to the root cause of like shin splints and tendonitis and stuff like this. So I thought that I would learn that in medical school, but I didn't. So by the time I graduated after medical school and then my residency, I had given up on that dream of getting to the root cause of stuff. And I kind of resigned myself to almost going through the motions on a daily basis. I enjoyed connecting with people, and I enjoyed like answering their questions and helping them understand what was happening in their own bodies, because that was why I went to medical school. I loved the human body, and just like any aspect of nature, I'm in, right? And the human body is like our most personal experience of nature. So I just liked helping people that way. But the part of it I really didn't like, and that kind of depressed me, was just refilling blood pressure medication prescriptions or putting people on drugs for this or that risk factor, not really seeing that they worked. So it was just not happy-ish, not the happy career that I wanted. And then things got worse because I developed a sickness that was a medical mystery, and I couldn't walk. And in fact, it's why I couldn't come to the studio in New York, because, your producer actually invited me to come up there. And I said, I can't even travel anymore because my health has deteriorated due to this kind of mysterious medical condition that kind of fluctuates up and down, but it's very serious. It's like a living virus in my nervous system and my joints, maybe my bone marrow. And like people have told me I should be dead. So anyway, I'm glad I'm not dead. And I really attribute the fact that I'm not to the changes in my diet. That's how I got into this. That's why. That's my why, because I wanted to know how the human body worked so that I could fix it. And it wasn't until I really got sick and I realized that my medical education didn't teach me anything true about nutrition. I learned about nutrition. And in fact, because I went to medical school, I thought I was an expert, right? You hear a lot that doctors don't learn about nutrition, but I felt like I did, because everything that dietitians who specialize in nutrition, everything that they learn, well, I learned that too. Right? When I was working with dietitians in the hospital, they had cooler calculators that could, calculate exact how many vitamins and, how much calories someone would need. But I felt like I learned a lot about nutrition. And so I had that faith in my education, and I didn't question it. But when I got sick, and nothing, no one could even tell me what was wrong, nothing helped. I had surgery, I tried really hard to figure out what to do to get better. And so did the many doctors I saw who treated me, and they just were powerless. So then I had to do something that I really didn't want to do, which was listen to my husband, who'd been telling me that my diet sucked because I was eating too much sugar all the time because I was a complete sugarholic. I had a sweet tooth, and I just ate so much sugar. He said, I ate like an army of ants. Okay, so That's how bad it was. And he gave me this book called Spontaneous Healing. And in that book, there was a phrase that just changed my life and changed the course of my career. And it wasn't even a very interesting phrase. It was like essential fatty acids, right? Like omega-3 fats, which we all know about now. But in the 1990s, nobody was talking about these things. And that phrase was chemistry. And so I was interested in it because I was like, wow, I felt like I had these two separate parts of my training, the chemistry and the genetics, and then the medical part, and they never really were connected. And it rekindled like this other half of me that kind of was laying dormant. And so I started reading textbooks, and I started reading more about nutrition knowledge, and nutrition knowledge that existed before World War II. Because something really important happened around World War II that obliterated our respect for old nutrition knowledge. And so that's when I went down this rabbit hole. I discovered Weston Price. I discovered just like the concept of ancestral eating. And then I started discovering, thanks to Anthony Bourdain and his travel food show, what people all around the world were eating when their families had kept alive traditional ways of cooking and traditional meals, and that they were all the same. And it was just amazing. So that was what inspired me to start writing the book, my first book, Deep Nutrition, which really revised, I think it revises everything about nutrition science in an unexpected way. So a lot of people who read it are like, wow, this blew my mind. And then, they may love it, but then they feel overwhelmed. So that's why I was especially glad that you said, well, it seems like it might be getting easier now.
It seems like it, and I say that because I feel like I have access to the types of food that we're going to be talking about today related to eating ancestrally. But yeah, there's a lot to dig into there. And first of all, bless your husband. How amazing that people in our lives give us these little gifts and then it changes the course of our lives. Thank you, husband. I know we didn't want to listen to you, but how amazing. Okay, there's so much I want to go into. First of all, can you briefly just share what you did learn in medical school as far as nutrition and diet goes, just so we have a sense of what is being taught? And I think it's still being taught from what I understand. Well, let's start there because I want to set the precedent.
Yeah, understanding what doctors do learn is so important. I learned that cholesterol causes heart attacks. Saturated fat is bad because it makes you fat or it clogs your arteries or something, whatever, it's bad. And, we didn't get too deep on the details. Salt causes hypertension, and that really, if you are overweight, well, it's your own gosh darn fault because you don't have any willpower. And so that's what doctors learned then, and that's what doctors learn now. But doctors didn't always learn that. Before World War II, it was a completely different mentality. It wasn't this like reductionist. So those 3 or 4 things that I just mentioned are really just sound bites.
Yes.
And that's, so I call it like sound bite science. That's what nutrition science is, sound bite science. And, it's not, that's why I call my book Deep Nutrition. We need to go deeper than the sound bites to get to the truth. And so
what happened during that period in World War II or after World War II?
So 2 things happened. One, antibiotics and the mentality of new is better, technology is great, better living through chemistry, right? We can beat nature. We can beat it back. It was a mind shift, and it affected medicine because prior to that, doctors were huge advocates of, health begins on the plate, right? Going back 2,000 years to Greece, Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine. That was the mentality back then. So thanks to just the chemical advances and technology and just the mentality that shifted our mindset from the 1920s and 30s to the 1940s and 50s, all of that previous knowledge was obliterated. I mean, we were making great progress in medicine, doctors were, and that was obliterated. And then the real death knell, though, came from the idea from one man's mind that cholesterol and saturated fat cause heart attacks. And this man his name is Ancestral, and he's lauded, he's applauded. Everybody thinks he's great these days. Doctors celebrate him as the father of cardiology because doctors still learn that cholesterol and saturated fat somehow cause heart attacks, right? Maybe they build up in your fat, maybe in your arteries, maybe they cause inflammation. The theory keeps changing, which is a little suspicious, should be suspicious. But with that idea, Ancestral would separate us from thousands of years of culinary history, because if you take away saturated fat, you take away animal fat. If you take away foods that have or raise cholesterol, you take away a key component of all culinary traditions. Because one of the things that I learned from watching those travel shows was that all around the world, people do indeed eat animals, and they eat all of it, and they don't trim the fat. They use the fat. They need that fat because they don't have the kinds of fats that we have now that we rely on, the vegetable oils, which are the opposite of healthy food, right? Back traditionally, those things didn't exist, and people had to save all the fat from the animals and use all the fat that they could get. It's a really important part, not just of our diets, but also people saved fat for use in lamps and soaps, right? So fat was precious. And they bred animals so that they would be fattier for all these reasons. So when we start scaring people away from fatty foods, particularly animal foods, and high cholesterol in our body, we create conditions where health cannot thrive because we don't follow any more culinary traditions. We can't. They all depend on these ingredients. And then we don't want to cook. And we depend on processed food. And so what are we doing now? Well, 80% of the ingredients in everyone's daily diet come from highly processed foods or highly processed individual ingredients like sugar, the vegetable oils, and the refined flours. So that tragedy is unfolding in the health headlines and in the doctor's offices because that, more than anything else, is what's making us sick, depriving us of the healthy fats and giving us these unhealthy vegetable oils that I call dark calories.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into the vegetable oil conversation in a moment because I think it's something that people are hearing whisperings of, but they're not exactly sure what it means and why it is so detrimental to our health. And I want to talk about the history there too. But, I think, in my experience, especially since I got pregnant a little over a year ago, and I read a book, Real Food for Pregnancy, and it is definitely a more ancestral approach to nutrition related to the pregnant body and the development of a child. And I just became so fascinated. I think more than I was before. I was eating meats and things and animal products before, but I really made the connection when I was growing a life inside of my body. And it was such a gift because now I'm able to make the correlation between the health of my body, the health of my brain, what my skin looks like, how my hair is, all to these types of foods, these real foods. And it's just, I feel really blessed that I have the ability to do that and I've seen the results. And so therefore I'm like hungry, quote, quote, for more. And I think to your point, we've become a society of comfort, of ease, of like, let's make this easy and quick. And I understand why, right? Like our lives are busy. We're doing the most. And I also think that type of lifestyle is also adding to our stress. So everything's feeding everything. The stress makes us crave these sweet things, these quick meals, these addictive foods that have preservatives and additives and things like that are literally designed to make us addicted to them. And so the lifestyle, these choices are feeding one another. And I want to bring in the conversation around, because I do think it's related, as you were talking about Anthony Bourdain's show and just like seeing cultures around the world, there is a conversation around longevity and the blue zones and what they are eating in the blue zones, et cetera. So this might feel like a tangent for a moment, but it's actually not. Because I think a lot of people get confused by certain messaging around the type of diet and lifestyles for longevity, for energy, for beauty, what have you. And so when I say like saturated fats and or like grass-fed butter or whatever it is, and people are like, oh, no, like that is going to make me fat, make me break out, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to demystify it a little bit because people are hearing, well, a vegetarian diet and this, that, the other thing are best for your health, which by the way, I'm not for or against anything, but I think we need to kind of uncover the propaganda and like marketing around certain diets.
Yeah, the propaganda is deeply embedded in our collective unconscious because of what happened right after World War II with Ancel Keys. And, you know, he invested himself in this organization called the American Heart Association that educates doctors, educates dietitians, educates, you know, massage therapists, everyone who has a license that has anything to do with anything in health, get this education around saturated fat and animal fat that came from the American Heart Association that is made up information. It is not true. And it's kind of like the Tower
And it's made up, why? Like, I guess.
It was not based in science. Like they claim.
Is it based in money?
It was based in money and ego, yes.
Yeah.
So the ego possibly played a bigger role because when you have a big enough ego, you know, you open yourself up to being corruptible with money. That's how I look at it. The story of this guy named Ancel Keys.
Yes.
He really wanted to show the world that he had the answer to this terrifying new problem of heart attacks that was affecting people in the 1940s and 50s. You have to realize that before then, heart attacks were so rare that cardiologists who specialize in heart health could go their entire careers without ever seeing a heart attack. That's how rare they were.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in like the early 1900s. But by the 1940s and 50s, they were the #1 killer of men in their 40s and 50s. And, you know, just terrifying to the entire country. And then the president had a heart attack in 1948. President Eisenhower had a heart attack. And that's what really brought the term heart attack. Well, actually, back then it was kind of called coronary. He'd had a coronary, referring to the medical term for the arteries serving the heart. And that's what brought the fear to like this new level. And so they were searching for answers. Where was this plague coming from? And Ancel Keys, who was a physiologist, didn't really have any background in nutrition, but had studied like starvation during World War II and obliquely knew some things about nutrition. He decided that he was going to make that his mission to understand, in quotes, scare quotes here, really, I'm not sure he was interested in understanding the cause of heart disease. I think he was really just understanding and getting on the cover of Time magazine, which he did by 1961. And he convinced the world that he had the answers. And it really helped that he was influential in the American Heart Association. He was best buds with the doctor who was the personal physician for President Eisenhower. He had connections in the White House. With that, it kind of solidified his message that saturated fat and cholesterol caused heart attacks. But as I talk about in my upcoming book that's going to be coming out in June called Dark Calories, he fabricated the data. He fabricated not so much in publication, but in talking about it. He claimed to everyone that he had 5,000 cases, meaning he had studied 5,000 people who'd had heart attacks and investigated their diets. This was his claim, and he made this claim in every media, and he made this claim to all the doctors that were countering him with their understandings of what really caused heart disease, which was smoking. Hello. But he was saying smoking is not a big factor.
Got it.
Can you believe that? That hasn't been questioned since 1961. He literally
it gets lost. It gets lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
You know, it's, well, back then, you know, I can imagine, like, I guess my question, just not even for you, but just in general, is like, who's paying him? Like, what are the incentives to talk about this stuff? And I think we hear about that happening, but we're not getting honest about where that is happening. It's happening everywhere and across all different industries. And And so I'm thinking, are the pharmaceutical companies who make cholesterol medicine, are the, tobacco companies, different things like that. I'm just always so interested, and we don't have to get into it here, but I think it's a good awareness to have around these conversations. But so wild that is still not something. I think people know that smoking is bad for you. I think we realize that now, but to not make the connection to what was happening back then is wild to me. Continue.
Yes, absolutely. It was. And, he got away with this, and no one has ever gone back and said, wait a second, other people at that time were saying smoking causes heart attacks, and you shut them down, claiming to have 5,000 cases, but you never published that. So why are we still listening to Ancel Keys and his ideas about saturated fat at all? No one in the American Heart Association has done that. No one at, Harvard or Tufts or any of these institutes where we have the leaders of medical nutrition thought still today parroting Ancel Keys' message. No one has stepped forward. None of the leaders are acting like leaders. They're just going along and getting along. And I think the point that you raised about how is this happening is actually kind of important to talk about. And if you'd like
Sure.
to, I'd love to just touch on that a little bit, because
Sure.
it's the question in everyone's mind. Like, so why haven't I heard what Dr. Cate is saying if it's true, right? Why? I would ask that. I did ask that. Actually, it took me a long time to get to the bottom of it. But I got there. And what I found was incredible, okay? So in 1948, Procter & Gamble gave the American Heart Association a donation of $1.75 million, which today is $30 million. And Procter & Gamble sold soy oil and cottonseed oil and Crisco. All these things were made, these are the vegetable oils. These are the dark calories that I talk about in my next book that are causing inflammation, that causing all the health problems today that we have. And this organization, Procter & Gamble, supported the American Heart Association with money. And Ancel Keys got that money. And he used that money to do all of his air quotes research, which was really, truly propaganda for the vegetable oil industry. Wow. And why aren't doctors today doing anything about that? Well, at some point, why would doctors question this? You have to ask, doctors are doing pretty well. The hospital system is doing pretty well with people being sick. So what would they do if suddenly everybody got healthy? How would they make their money? Exactly. And I'm saying that it's at least 90% of their money is coming from the chronic diseases that come from our diet now, which is mostly, when it comes to fat, coming from these unhealthy oils.
I have a new device that is pretty amazing. Phenomenal even. I'm just blown away at the simplicity of it and the profound information and habits I've been able to generate because of this information. It's called Lumen. It is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. What? We live in this day and age. It's crazy. And then on the Lumen app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you a tailored guidance breakdown to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. It is just so crazy. So just to give you an idea, every single morning I have my little Lumen. It's the size of, I would say my palm. And I have it on my bedside table and I will breathe into it first thing in the morning and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism. And I get this information, whether I'm burning fats or carbs, and then I'm able to really plan my day, nutrition wise, activity wise. I'll also sometimes breathe into it before workouts and meals. This has been such a game changer. Why is your metabolism so important to understand? I got you. I know. This is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. So because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep. I have a friend who just got the Lumen and they are on a weight loss journey for themselves. And they also want to experience like improved energy. They've been just like super sluggish, low energy, and they've already seen a difference in the way that they have shifted, especially what they're eating and the activity that they're doing based on the Lumen recommendations. Amazing. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/almost30. That's lumen.me/almost30 to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me.me/almost30 for 15% off your purchase. Thanks so much, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Okay, I don't know if you guys have heard about this new bioactive whole food that seems almost too good to be true. I've seen a lot of people online talking about it, and it's for good reason. There are thousands upon thousands of 5-star reviews and literally life-changing testimonials from users. I have been taking Armra colostrum for about almost 2 years now. This colostrum is a proprietary concentrate of bovine colostrum, which is, if you don't know what colostrum is the first nutrition we receive in life and contains all of the essential nutrients our bodies need in order to thrive. This bovine colostrum is from the overflow, which I asked that question. I was like, let's make sure. It is from the overflow, and it harnesses over 400 living bioactive nutrients that strengthen the barriers of your body and fuel cellular health for thousands of research-backed health benefits. Unbelievable. So it improves, strengthens immunity. It ignites your metabolism, fortifies your gut health, activates hair growth and skin radiance. It will just really take your fitness performance to the next level, as well as recovery. And it has powerful anti-aging benefits. Again, this is premium bovine colostrum concentrated, unlike any other product on the market. So unique, optimized for human health. It's sustainable. And they are just obsessed with the quality of their product. So again, this is only the surplus supply of the colostrum after calves receive all the nutrients they need. And so we are getting the surplus and benefiting from it as well. So we've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your order. Go to tryarmra.com/almost30 or enter almost30 to get 15% off your order. tryarmra.com/almost30 or use the code almost30 to get 15% off. Yeah, thanks for explaining that. I could talk about it all day, and it's definitely a rabbit hole I've gone down, and I think people listening have gone down too. People are kind of with it, so I encourage people to always like just think critically when it comes to these like mass prescriptions for people, especially when it comes to food. The ancestral diet lifestyle and the seed oil conversation. So I think we can start with the seed oils. It is something that like I have been very much privy to this conversation, the effects of seed oils on the body, inflammation, etc. And part of me has become like a little obsessed with it, which, you know, is what it is. I'll say to like restaurants, I'm like, I'm allergic to seed oils. I'm not, but like we kind of are, all of us. Yeah. So I'm really kind of hell bent on cleaning that part of, you know, my diet up. But talk to us about where we find these, which isn't so much. And I think it's fascinating, the science behind them, the fact that there's science behind them, the fact that they were like created over many, many years is kind of disturbing. So would love to talk about that.
Yeah, so I should probably start out by saying that, you know, I've been studying these oils for more than 20 years. And I've kind of devoted my career to understanding how they're harming us. And so I think that right there tells you that there's a lot of ways that they are harming us. There's no end to it. And what are they? Well, when you look at right now, there's no there's no like real definition. Like, what is a seed oil, right? You could say that, sesame seed oil is a seed oil, right? But what even is a seed? Botanically, nuts are seeds, right? So almond oil could be considered seed oil if you look at it that way. So we have to get the definition right, and that's what I'm trying to do. So the term seed oil has become popular in the past maybe 3-4 years. When I first started doing this, the term was vegetable oil. Vegetable oil is actually the term you're going to see on a package label. So what is the right term? Is it seed oil? Is it vegetable oil? Well, neither term is correct. Neither term is perfect because nobody's looking at these things to be harmful, right? These terms are created not for the purpose of delivering a message around these things being unhealthy. So I had to come up with another term. And actually, my husband gave me this idea too. It's the hateful eight, because there's 8 oils that I think we need to avoid, that my research shows these are the ones that are harming us. And those 8 are corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, and those 3 C's and 3 S's I just listed off are the ones you have to memorize for packages. Anything you buy in the grocery store, you've got to look at the ingredients before you buy, because 80% chance it's going to be in there, whatever it is.
Yep.
And then the other 2 of the 8 are rice bran and grapeseed oil. Those are mostly in restaurants these days. They haven't made their way into grocery stores too much. So in terms of memorizing, it's just the 3 C's and the 3 S's there. And I think it's also important just to say that I came up with this list after considering a whole lot of chemical factors and how our body works, right? And even botany. So I had to consider their fatty acid profile. I had to consider the relative oxidizability of saturated, monounsaturated, omega-3 fats and omega-6 fats. So those 4 different types of chemicals in the seed oils. And I'm telling you this, and I'm also hoping your listeners are hearing this, to say that when you go down this rabbit hole, you'll see other oils on the list. But I've come up with my 8 after studying this for more than 20 years, and I considered many, many factors.
These are typically found in processed foods. Like, where are you seeing these oils so people can be aware? I feel like we go through waves of popularity with oils where like sunflower oil is having its moment. People are like, oh, sunflowers, like that sounds healthy. It's a plant. And I see it in everything. So I guess what are food companies using this for in particular? Like, why are they using them? What is it a replacement for, et cetera?
It's a replacement for things like butter or coconut oil or tallow or lard that were originally in cooked baked goods. We really originally, when the whole processed food industry began over 100 years ago now, there weren't frozen foods, right? Refrigeration didn't exist. So it was really cookies and baked goods. And at that point in time, it was because of cost. It was just cheaper. And it was also, there was an advantage in shelf stability because butter, tallow, and lard, they can actually go bad. But the alternatives that were made from seed oil, they didn't. So that also had a bottom line, a huge impact on the bottom line because things could sit on the shelf for longer before they would mold. So that's where it started in baked goods. And then with refrigeration, then in the 40s, then it was like, oh yeah, you should cook with these oils because they'll lower your cholesterol. That was the claim, the Ansel Keys thing. So people were bringing them into their house and cooking with them in the form of cooking oil. But for most people today, they're not getting it mostly in their own cooking oil because most people today, whether they know it or not, are relying on a lot of prepackaged or preprocessed foods. You may not think about it this way, but even like canned tuna or sun-dried tomatoes packed in, soy oil, that's a prepared food. And so these things make their way into frozen dinners, into things like tater tots and Hot Pockets. They're in the junk food aisle. That's everything. It's in every single thing there. I mean, you're not going to find butter or tallow or lard in crackers or potato chips or things that we think of as junk food. You often hear that junk food is bad because of saturated fat. No, it's vegetable oils. Vegetable oils put the junk in junk food, and they are unsaturated, polyunsaturated, different chemistry here, totally different chemistry. So, and then also just a lot of food service, right? In the schools, in hospitals, in nursing homes, in assisted living facilities, camps, like anywhere food is being served, they're going to use, instead of expensive olive oil, they're going to use a blend that's 99% soy oil and 1% olive oil. So they get to tell their customers it's made with olive oil. So it's like everywhere. And because it's everywhere, these oils now make up about 30% of everyone's daily caloric intake. 30%.
Wow.
It's a huge impact. It's bigger than anything else that is bad that people are talking about, right? Even sugar. Most people don't get 30% of their daily calories from sugar.
Wow. And what are these seed oils doing in the body?
Nothing good, I will tell you. They're promoting a kind of chemical pollution called oxidative stress. And what does that do? Well, oxidative stress causes inflammation. So any inflammatory disease you might be suffering from, which includes acne, eczema, psoriasis, like almost all skin problems, even if you get sunburns too easily and you don't tan, that's a skin problem that's from inflammation. The first place it attacks you is where it enters the body, which is through your gut. So it can cause gut problems. It can cause gastritis of the stomach, inflammation of the stomach. It can cause esophagitis, inflammation of the esophagus, that tube that enters your stomach, inflammation of the entire small intestine and colon. Soy oil is responsible for at least 30% of all inflammatory bowel disease. I think it's much more than 30%, but like some doctors are aware of that and at least advising people to stay away from soy oil. Doctors now are using a keto diet to heal these things because the keto diet is the one popular diet that doesn't force low saturated fats onto people and allows people to eat natural fats from cheese, butter, eggs, fat like that. So the keto diet works. But even better is just really paying attention to these oils and being strict about getting them out of your life. And possibly the worst thing that they do is they change our relationship with food. They change our cravings. And this I experienced myself. Because when I got off these oils, earlier I mentioned I had a terrible sweet tooth. I ate like an army of ants. When I got off these oils and started eating natural fats, I realized I didn't care so much about sugar. It wasn't the center of my diet and my dietary life. Like I used to be such a sugar addict that if I didn't have something sweet with my meal, I felt like I just didn't eat. Like the meal wasn't even worth it, right? I just kind of plowed through dinner because the real main event was the dessert, the ice cream or the cookies or whatever I had waiting for me. That was how bad I was. And I never in my life imagined I could be one of those people who would be able to sit with chocolate in their house and not obsess about it constantly. I just never imagined that. But once I got off those oils, I realized I didn't even care. I mean, it was like,
wow,
unbelievable. I didn't think I would ever get there. And that has to do with how they change how our body processes energy. And there's a lot of really fascinating science that, that we don't need to go into here, but this is not just a trend. This is not something that's going to come and go. It's coming and it's going to keep on coming until these oils go. That's what's going to go, hopefully.
And so walk me through how we can start to eliminate these. For someone who is, yes, cooking at home, but also has a life where they might need to order out every once in a while, where they go out every once in a while. What can we be cooking with? And how can we be advocating for ourselves when it comes to eliminating seed oils?
Yeah, great. So cook with, I call them the delightful dozen. There's about 12 that are super useful. And they include, my top 5 of those are butter, olive oil, peanut oil, coconut oil, and sesame seed oil, right? So there is a seed oil in there. But it turns out that sesame seed oil is actually cultivated to have an enormous amount of antioxidants and yield its oil easily, which means that it just doesn't break down. It's actually in some circumstances even better than olive oil. So those are like the ones I have all the time. So you want to have the good oils in your house, and you want to know what they taste good with, right? So like I would use butter with eggs because I don't like the flavor of coconut oil with eggs. I like coconut oil. Actually, I love coconut oil combined with peanut oil and soy sauce, right? So that's sort of Asian. So if I have, like, say, some pork in the house, I'll like stir fry it in that combination of oils to make it taste Asian, right? Whereas if I want it to just taste like a pork chop, then I'll fry it in a blend of olive oil and butter because I love that combination too. And it just gives it like, such a great taste. And it gives it like that browning, butter will brown it a little bit. And then the olive oil has like that sourness. It's just really good.
I know you're making me hungry.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to get hungry too. I'm thinking about, why don't I have any pork chops right now?
But it's fascinating to combine. It's fascinating to understand the flavor profiles. At least for me, I'm like a nerd with this stuff. So, but I think people can really return to being in their kitchens. And I understand that not everyone has that passion or interest. I understand that not everyone has the time. And I also think that once you feel the benefits of returning to the kitchen and preparing some of your own food and being able to control the types of oils that are being used, and you'll feel those health benefits, then I think that drives you to do it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I start people simply. In all of my books, I have very simple ideas about what you can have for breakfast and lunch. They are based on foods that are high in saturated fat and cholesterol, right? So this is why it's so important to realize that this fear of saturated fat and cholesterol is harming our health, and we have to get over that fear.
Yes.
Because some of the original fast foods, cheese and an apple, right? I think there was an episode of Boardwalk Empire where somebody out in the woods on some sort of stalking sniper mission has brought his little, lunch box, which is just an apple and cheese wrapped in newspaper. And that is what people used to eat. Like they literally just grabbed food that would fill them up and that would kind of taste good and satisfy them and, had some good carrying capacity. Like these very simple ideas are so easy, so quick, and so much healthier than pouring cereal into a bowl or having a Pop-Tart, or certainly healthier than a donut. And they do something amazing right away, which is they give us energy. These are the fats that our bodies are designed to fuel with, not sugar. We're not designed to fuel with sugar. We're not designed to fuel with the fats that are in the vegetable seed oils, the hateful eight.
Yeah. If people are going out to dinner, if they're ordering in, et cetera, I guess, are there ways in which we can just make sure that the proper oils are being used, or none at all? I guess, what do you do when you go out to a restaurant?
What I do is I say, do you have anything back there in the kitchen that you can cook for me in butter? Or 100% pure olive oil, not a blend. And then they'll go back and, see. And I've been surprised. Sometimes I've been in chain restaurants and they're like, oh yeah, we got butter and we got fish and we can just fry that up in a pan for you. And it was good. They did it. And they even garnished it like with some vegetables that went really well with it. It was like they made up this whole new, could have been a menu item, but they just did it. It was fast.
And are you picky about whether the butter is grass-fed, et cetera?
I mean, when it's myself, that's what I get because I like the taste best.
Yeah.
But when I'm out socializing and, I don't want to be too antisocial about what I'm ordering. I just do what is easy. And I don't expect them to have grass-fed. If they did, I would be like down on my knees, thanking them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people have that like anxiety of, I don't want to be that person at dinner that is asking all the questions, that is making these specific requests, but it is pretty quick and easy to be able to ask those questions. So I really, really love that. To round out this conversation, I do want to talk about just the broader, more ancestral approach to eating, and why it is so healthy for us and so important, and how can we do so in a way that's like accessible, because I understand, I understand the limitations, but I also think that we have the ability to do it more than we think.
Let's talk about why it matters so that we motivate people.
Yes.
I think once people are motivated, then even if stuff is hard, right, they might find a way to do it. So, and then, there are definitely ways to make it accessible. Okay, so why is it so important? Well, food is not just fuel. Food is chemical information that directs the activity of every cell in your body. Your body is made of cells, and those cells, they operate on chemistry. And chemistry sounds kind of vague and abstract and like something you learn about in a textbook. But no, chemistry is you. When you have a thought, that's due to chemicals in your head interacting. And just before the show, my husband came up with this beautiful analogy. I'm going to see if I can repeat it, do justice to it. He says, think about it like if you are a bee in a hive, and your job is to go to a million different flowers, watch how the other bees dance and follow this complicated instruction, how to get to the flowers, go all the way over to the flowers. They might be miles away. Come back, collect little bitty bits of pollen at a time, come back to the hive and give it the pollen. But you're like, you know what? I don't want to do that. There's this garbage cans right next door. I don't have to memorize any dances. I can just make a whole bunch of trips, load up on these garbage cans, and dump garbage into the hive. Well, that. I thought that was a good analogy.
Yeah,
I don't know what you
think.
think.
I think so too. Yeah, because it's exemplifying like the tendency to do what's easy and what doesn't require us to, whether it's like think critically or get creative or, really make that effort and do so in a consistent way and be disciplined. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
And the thing is that these days, everyone else in the hive thinks that way. But the way it used to be was that no one in the hive thought that way. They thought the whole dance thing was a lot of fun. They liked going around after the flowers. They loved being with the flowers. Like our culture has changed. And our culture doesn't emphasize, and that makes it so much harder because then you have to be that person in the restaurant, and you don't want to be that, right? But if everyone was that person in the restaurant, it would be easier.
Yeah,
so
and might create change too.
Exactly.
I think like that's the thing that motivates me to have these conversations and to like actually advocate for myself out in public is like the change that could happen because of that.
Yeah, I think that we could think of it instead of being that person, but like being an educator and being a leader, right? Yeah. And I know not everyone really has their mindset wrapped around that when they're trying to have a good time with their girlfriends on a night out. But, if you go into it thinking that way, maybe you'll be a little bit prepared mentally. Yeah. I don't know, get your game face on a little bit. And, it is doing good in the world. It's not, your girlfriends will get over it, right? And they might wonder why you're doing it. And then it might start a whole conversation. So
agreed. Yeah, I'm slowly bringing my husband into the fold of all of this. And we have a child now. And so it excites me more than anything to really approach his introduction to nutrition from an ancestral standpoint. I have some liver in my freezer. I have, the sauerkraut ready to go, all these things that are really hopefully going to set up his gut microbiome in particular, to be as high functioning and healthy as possible. We didn't get into like allergies and conditions and things like that. But, I think that so many of the ailments that we started the conversation with this, but so many of the ailments that we have today, including whether it's allergies or different conditions that are incessant, like skin conditions, et cetera, originate in the gut. And I think those seed oils, I can imagine, are one of the biggest culprits of that.
Absolutely. I mean, when we eat junk ingredients, we get junk health. And it absolutely destroys our microbiome and can destroy our gut health. And our immune system, really depends heavily on our gut health, and our moods require a healthy gut. But it doesn't end there. I will tell you that it changes the composition of your body fat. And body fat is the largest organ in your body, especially if you are, overweight. It's even bigger. And changing the chemical composition of your body fat from something nature intended it to be to something unnatural, that is devastating. And it has impacts on our health that I have been studying for 20 plus years. I mean, there is no end to what it does to us. I am convinced that it causes dementia and, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. And it contributes to multiple sclerosis. It deranges our immune system too. Because if the immune system is always battling and always faced with inflammation from these oils having built up weird body fat, which they do, then our immune system can't work properly at all. It's a very complicated system.
Yes.
So there is no end to the damage that these things do. But yes, it does begin in the gut, because that's where they enter the body.
Yeah.
Takes the brunt of it.
Powerful. I could talk to you all day, but I want people to just learn more about your work. drcate.com, and the new book, Dark Calories, correct?
Yes.
Is out in June. And Deep Nutrition as well. Listen, I'm so thankful for people like you who, even though I'm sure you have come into contact with ways in which your work should not be out there in the masses, because of whether it's not what's going to make money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I applaud and bow down to people like you who have the pure intention to see a healthier population, and to get to the truth of what's causing the dis-ease in our bodies. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'm excited for people to learn even more and think more critically.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsey, for creating this sort of platform where you tackle these difficult topics that they're not necessarily all happy, feel good. You will happy, feel good if you can do it, but no one's telling you it's going to be super easy here. So that's the hardest part of all.
Yeah, but it becomes a way of life.
I appreciate it. And you being a model like that, I think, is so helpful and valuable.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I've experienced the deep benefits, and I will continue, even if it, takes more of my time or if it's more of an effort. Like, to me, it is so worth it. It's like, once you know something, you can't unknow it. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. Everyone, please go to drcate.com, get her new book out in June, and just learn more, be an advocate for yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cate, for coming on Almost 30. It was such a pleasure. If you want to find more health and wellness episodes for Almost 30, you can go to our website. We have all the episodes broken out by category: spirituality, wellness. You can also search Nutrition Almost 30 on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to find more.
Awesome. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure you subscribe to Almost 30, new episodes every single week. And we have a Clips podcast. It's called Morning Microdose. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You can get the best of the Almost 30. Start your day with it instead of like popping on your phone. You can just pop on an episode and do your thing. Lots of inspiration. I think it'll set the tone.
Yes. We love you guys. Thank you for being a part of our lives, for subscribing, rating, and reviewing, and for sending this one to a friend. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.
Bye.